So unlike most commentators on the North Korea stuff, I've actually taken graduate level courses in political science, in international relations, in game theory. I've read some of that literature. I'm not going to say that it's my specialty, but I'm familiar with it. So I don't believe most of the things that you hear people say about North Korea. Most people will tell you that the leadership in North Korea is insane, that they're unpredictable, and that they can't be relied upon for anything, and that they might go nuts and blow everybody up at any moment. The only thing that I believe out of that is that they're a little unpredictable. Why are they unpredictable? Being unpredictable, behaving in a somewhat random fashion, gives you advantages. Why do I say that they're only somewhat unpredictable? Because that unpredictability is predictable. North Korea's strategy is to act crazy and to play a brinksmanship game where they do shit every now and then that could start a bloody international conflict. By engaging in that kind of behavior, they keep everyone on their toes and make them think that, well, we really don't want to mess with these guys because they'll certainly tolerate a level of danger that would be unacceptable towards us. For example, democratic regimes like the United States and South Korea can't deal with civilian and military casualties in the way that an autocratic government can. Autocracies, communist regimes, any kind of government like that will spend human lives in a way that a democracy can't. Why can't they? Because democracies have to get reelected in order to win. There's a long-standing theory in international relations that democracies fight like hell once they get in wars, and that may be true. But if you look at all of the bad feeling that was generated by a very small number of casualties on the U.S. side in our recent Middle Eastern engagements in Iraq and Afghanistan, I think that we maybe lost 5,000 troops or something over a period of 10 years. It might even be less than that. I can't remember. I haven't looked at it in a while. But you know, that made Bush extremely unpopular, just those 5,000 casualties. And that gave the Republicans a bad reputation that it took them 2 presidential election cycles to get over. So, back to the North Korea issue. There's a missile defense system that's being installed today, right now, in South Korea to deflect some of the potential damage from a potential new North Korean missile strike, nuclear strike. This system is supposed to shoot down missiles. Why is it being installed 125 miles south of Seoul, where 10 million people live and could potentially be blown up by a North Korean attack? You might wonder, you might think that if we, the United States, were going to spend all this money on installing military defenses for North Korea, why wouldn't we want to protect Seoul? If you took a game theoretic approach and you plotted this out on a piece of paper, you would see that as soon as the United States puts a system in place that will render North Korea's main bargaining chip moot, which is to install a missile defense system that would render this attack on Seoul pointless, the North Koreans would really have no choice but to attack. It would force them to do so. They couldn't stand a system in which their entire military was rendered useless. So we have to install a missile defense system south of Seoul that leaves the North Koreans the option of killing 1 million people or 2 million or 10 million or whatever it happens to be. I don't know what those simulations look like, but we have to leave that threat in place so that the North Koreans don't attack. It's kind of perverse, but that's the way this kind of stuff really works. So, the North Koreans aren't crazy. Everybody thinks they're crazy, but they're not. They just act unpredictably to keep everyone on their toes and retain an element of danger. If the North Koreans are rolling dice every time they attack a South Korean military installation or a submarine or something like that, let's say that they're playing a game in which 5% of the time, every time they launch one of these attacks, it could spiral out into an international conflict where 1 million people were killed. 1 million civilians, we'll say, not to mention the military casualties. That shows that they are playing a different game than South Korea and the United States and their allies, because we couldn't tolerate that many casualties. By showing that they can tolerate that many casualties, they're proving that we don't want to get into a fight with them. This is totally rational, it's explicable, and it makes sense out of their behavior. So I prefer that kind of explanation to one in which they're just a bunch of lunatics with bombs. So I recommend that whenever you hear people talking about North Korea being crazy, you take that person a little bit less seriously, unless they're just joking, of course. But if you're going to try to analyze something in international relations and state actors messing with each other, you need to take a rational approach. Think about why they could possibly be doing what they're doing. Don't look at human emotions. Look at the stakes that are in play for the millions of people in the system.